So welcome everybody. Welcome to our conversation about the very first narrative project, Trip Abroad. Lisa Daly, Lisa, give us a wave. Lisa is a former narrative project client, student, and she's written a memoir about her trip with her family around the world. And we were talking earlier today, and I believe between the two of us, we've been to 38 countries. I was I was counting Morocco, but I was like, really, I only went through Morocco on the train, so I'm not going to count Morocco. Right? That's not fair. I totally agree with you, Tori.
No, with 24 hours.
24 hours. That's a good rule. Yes.
Okay.
So I actually think I missed one too, Cami.
Did you miss one? So we're maybe up to 39.
Yeah.
So
I might have missed one or two.
So Lisa has been nagging at me for a really long time. Come on, get this trip together. And then so finally she took me in hand and she started organizing everything. And then she said to me, it's all organized. All you have to do is fill things in. So we have created a really exciting trip, and we want to share with all of you today why we're doing it and what we're doing, and all of the plans, the itinerary, how much it'll cost, how to jump in if you want to go. And so I have a PowerPoint here, which, as I said, would look like a white piece of paper if it hadn't been for Lisa, who's got the skills. So I'm going to share my screen with all of you, and we're just going to walk through this, and Lisa's going to jump in to add her 2 cents or to correct me if I get something wrong. And then you guys can jump in with questions. We'll pause and let you ask questions at a certain point too. So, and it's nice to see all your gorgeous mugs. So here, I'm going to share here. Great. Let's see if it'll do that for me. There we go. Okay. So the narrative project is going to do its first literary adventure abroad. We're really excited about this, and we're taking this trip to Valparaiso, Chile. So why go on a literary adventure? And probably the best reason that I have, and I would imagine you shared this with me, Lisa, is because traveling is awesome and fun. So why not go on any adventure? But why go on an adventure in particular that takes a group of people on a literary journey? This has sort of been a fantasy of mine for a really long time. Henry James has this great quote that a writer is one on whom nothing is lost. And I can tell you that when you're traveling with an eye for story, that stories come to you. So as writers, we hone experiential skills that other people may have the luxury of ignoring, but because we're oriented towards story, we are in observation mode. You're even at a coffee shop and you hear a snippet of a poem float through the air at the table next to you, that kind of thing. We're often in observation mode. And we are approaching the world with a sense of curiosity that I find not everyone, I've been a therapist for 20 years, and I can tell you that cultivating or supporting people in cultivating curiosity is sometimes an uphill battle. But I find that among writers, we are always asking ourselves, like, this thing happened. What does that mean? What's the end of the story? You see some strange person out on the street and you think, what's their history? So we approach the world with a sense of curiosity. And we approach the self as a conduit for meaning making. So I find that most of the writers that I've been working with over the last many years, that they have great stories they come into our 9-month program with, but they're always asking themselves, what does this mean? Particularly about their own experiences, but certainly even when they're writing fiction and they have a fictional character speaking to them, they're like, what's up with that? Let's make meaning out of this storyline. And writers, I find, are often tying the universal with the personal. So what happens to them personally is connected to the greater meanings in the world. And what better place to do that than in travel writing? And as you all know, that travel writing is one of my passions. I loved keeping my blog while I was running the marathons on every continent. And writing that book was one of the funnest things of my entire life. Is it funnest or most fun?
Most fun.
Most fun. One of the funnerest. So
Funnest is enthusiastic.
The funnest.
Right, but
Most funnest. It's just shit.
Not English, but we knew what you meant. Yeah.
I know you did. So why Valparaiso, Chile? And the best reason that I have for this is that Valparaiso is one of my favorite places. I've been there a few times, and I think that it lends itself to travel writing, to adventure, to writing about character and place in a way that other places do. But Valparaiso pops in the sense that this place is covered with street art. Covered. Do you see the wall there in that picture? Every single wall is covered in street art. Even the place that we're going to stay while we're on this trip is covered in street art. And the city itself has an amazing history, literary history. Pablo Neruda has a home there, and there were he loved it. He talked about it being one of the most gorgeous places on earth, and it is. I mean, I think Seattle and Bellingham are both really gorgeous cities I've lived in, but Valparaiso is fascinating. Every corner is covered. Even the stairways are covered in street art. This one is a famous one that on the walking tour they'll usually take you to, that's painted like a piano, but every stairway is painted like something. So what we're going to do is focus on craft work while we're there, while touring the city and drinking wine and all kinds of other fun things. So this trip is going to focus on the elements of great travel writing. What are the elements of great travel writing? But also on character development in fiction and nonfiction, because Valparaiso is filled with interesting characters. And all of the paintings are filled with interesting characters. So this is a place where the imagination can run wild. We want to make place pop off the page in all of our writing. And so what we'll be doing, and we'll tell you about the itinerary here in a minute, while we're in Valparaiso, we're going to be focusing on character and place. And then I sort of think Lisa has a specialty in how to find off the beaten track experiences that you'll be able to write about. Lisa, I'm going to invite you to say, maybe, I put you on the spot, but like maybe one or two of the off the beaten track sort of experiences that you gave your family on the trip.
Yeah, like several come up. So my family is one that doesn't just like to go to a famous place and view the same place that everybody goes to. You know, if we were to ever go to Paris, no one would want to go see the Eiffel Tower. We'd want to go into some back alleyway and find some obscure thing. But a couple of things that we've done, like in Cambodia, we took our kids out and ate tarantula because that is actually something that they do all the time that you don't even know about. You don't really hear about it, but a lot of people out in the jungle eat tarantula to survive. And so we took them to this restaurant that helps street people kind of find a way to work in the city. And they specialize in Cambodian jungle food. And one of those things. So the crazy part about it is that they brought 2 live tarantulas out before we ate them and let them crawl all over us.
Oh my God. We're not going to make people eat tarantulas on this trip, I promise you, but
yeah. And then another one is
creativity.
Yeah. I mean, so my husband is a dentist, and so one of the places that we went in Singapore was the Buddha Tooth Relic Museum. So it's this big temple dedicated to Buddha, and that houses one of his canine teeth. 4-story museums that's built around this. But it was fascinating because we learned all about Buddha and got a blessing from a monk, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah. So I feel like Lisa has really honed an ability to figure out how to find those little experiences that then can turn into kind of life-changing moments. And so we want to give everyone an opportunity to find those and write about those. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing on this trip is that we're going to be opening up a blogger account on the Narrative Project website for everyone. And so everyone is going to get an opportunity to, of course, you can blog on your own websites, but also you'll be able to blog on the Narrative Project website, and you'll be getting assignments each day so that you'll have something to watch for while we're out and about in the city. And then there will be writing time, which you're going to be super excited when you see where we're going to be doing the writing. Just a couple more of the pieces of street art. I mean, they're literally every single building is covered, and each one has a story. And when you go on the walking tour, you'll hear about the stories of many of these pieces of art and how they came to be. So this is the place where we're going to be staying.
Wow.
It's called, I know, it's amazing. It's called the Wine Box. The Wine Box is designed by a New Zealander named Grant and his Chilean partner, who is an architect. And the building is made out of retired train crates, and every single room has a view of the water and the city. So the rooms are, and the rooms are each decorated with street art. They hired street artists to come in and decorate each room. And the breakfast is, I just took when I was there last, I took some pictures of the breakfast because it's a super awesome spread. And also the breakfast room looking right out at the water. So the rooms that we've reserved are individual rooms. Each train crate is a room. They're all a little bit different. And they all have a patio looking out at the water. And then the common areas also have that view of the water, as well as Grant himself is a really lovely person, but he is also a sommelier, so we'll be doing some wine tasting while we're there, and he'll be bringing some fantastic Chilean wines to us. So our general itinerary is going to look, this may be subject to change just because, oops, sorry about that, just because we need to be in contact with Grant about when he's available to do certain things with us, so there may be some shifting around, but basically the way that the itinerary, it's 10 days, and the start date that we are planning on is May 20th.
Oh, good.
May 20th. So May 20th to the 30th, roughly. You can come early and do your own thing if you want, or stay late and go to Easter Island or whatever floats your boat if you want to spend some extra time in South America. So day one, people will be landing in Santiago, which is the main city in central Chile. And we'll get everybody settled there and catch up on sleep and have dinner, probably together with a no-host dinner. People will be coming in at different times, I'm imagining, though Lisa and I will make sure that everyone knows when our flights are. And so that anyone who wants to be on the same flights that we're on will be able to do that. Then the second day, we're going to take a bus into Valparaiso. It's about a 2-hour bus ride, and interesting and beautiful. And the buses in Chile are really top notch, like it's luxury. So we'll take a bus into Valparaiso and get settled in there. And in the afternoon, we'll have lunch at the Wine Box, and then we'll have a meeting for an orientation. We'll get some maps, make sure everybody knows what's going to happen during the next several days. And I'm imagining people will go out and do a little exploring. And then in the evening, we'll have dinner together. And the first 2 days, we'll be doing some settling in, getting oriented. Some people may arrive that first day early in the morning. Some might not arrive until the evening. And Lisa and I are going to want to make sure that everybody makes it to where they're supposed to be. Santiago is not a hard city to navigate. Uber is there. The trains are really easy, and so as soon as we know who's going and what their schedules are, we're going to help support everybody getting to where they need to be. Day 3, we're going to start our classes. So we'll start looking in the morning. In the mornings, our plan is to do a class each morning, and then writing, and then lunch, and then in the afternoon, essentially it'll go this way each day. In the afternoon, we'll do some kind of tour, a dinner, and then in the evening, an activity. Getting together to read what we've written that day. There's a lot of space built into this so that people have the time to, even after a walk, like a walking tour of Valparaiso, they'll have time to come back and do some writing, do some note taking, that kind of thing. Something that I'm sure it's in here is that Lisa is going to avail herself to, for those of you who don't know, Lisa is the master webmaster, and she's going to avail herself for an hour with each person to help them with whatever their technological needs are at some point during the trip, so that if you're just getting your own blog up and running, she'll give you some support around that. So you'll have an hour with her at some point. Each person will have an hour with her at some point that fits into the schedule. So we'll start out by talking about what great travel writing does and doesn't do. And before we even go on this trip, everyone who decides to go, we're going to send them a couple of books, at least 2, possibly 3. One will be Isabel Allende's book, My Invented Country, which is about Chile. It's a memoir written about Chile, and we're definitely going to read some Pablo Neruda. Otherwise, you kind of miss out on the whole thing. So we're going to read Neruda, and we may read a biography of Neruda too. I'll tell you honestly, my biggest consideration with a biography is that I don't want it to be a hardback. I don't want people to have to lug a hardback book around. So I'm trying to find a good one that is also paperback. Day 4, again, we'll have class in the morning. We're going to look at character, and then there's going to be an assignment and a prompt to actually try and meet someone and turn them into a character. So we're going to talk about writing as stealing, how as writers we are collecting stories, and how we can do that without actually co-opting stories that don't belong to us, but taking stories and turning them in, using our imagination to turn them into our own stories. So, and there'll be writing time again, lunch, and then a tour of Pablo Neruda's home. Again, open mic in the evening. We say open mic. I don't know that there's actually going to be a mic. There may be a mic. I don't know. Day 5, we're going to talk about place. So we'll talk about, since you will by that time have soaked up the city a little bit, how do we write about place, particularly in travel writing, but certainly the skills are the same no matter what you're writing, and make a place pop alive. If you've ever read a good book where the place is actually a character in the book, that's what you really want to have happen if you can. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. And again, there'll be a prompt, writing time, which, nobody's looking over your shoulder. You can use that writing time to write your own material if that's what you want to use it for. In the afternoon, we'll take a couple of the funiculars. Don't you love that word?
Mm-hmm.
I love the word funicular. So Valparaiso is famous for these very long elevators that go up the hills. So Valparaiso is a very hilly city. The Chileans are fond of saying that the women in Valparaiso have the best legs in Chile. And it's because there's stairs and hills and everywhere. But there's also these amazing funiculars that take you up into these boroughs where there's cool shopping, great restaurants. So we'll make sure that everyone's oriented around the city, but also we'll take some formal trips on the funiculars. And then that says also that we'll do an evening of wine tasting on the roof, and we will have an evening with Grant. Well, he'll do some wine tasting for us. Day 6, Lisa's going to talk about designing experiences. Lisa's, in addition to having forced her children to eat tarantulas, no, just kidding. She is, she's also a photographer, and there's something about looking through a lens that really, I think, encapsulates what we're trying to do as writers, that we're trying to take snapshots of a moment in time of our characters or in our own lives and make the colors pop and the action come to life, and a really good photograph will do that. And so she's gonna teach us how to look through a particular lens and how to give ourselves experiences that that are right, that are this isn't a word, but that are writable, you know, that you want to write about. Day 7, we're going to give a free day because it will probably feel pretty full by then. And so a day to wander around Valparaiso, and we'll meet in the morning, talk about our next steps. You will have seen places you want to go back and shop at, I'm quite sure. And then we'll do dinner together at the Wine Box. We may have it catered, or we may decide to go shopping and have us all cook together. Actually, shopping in a foreign country is a really fun thing to do. To me, it's a revelation every time I go into a grocery store and see what they do have and what they don't have. So I think it is a good experience to have. In the morning of day 8, we're going to come back to Santiago and settle in at the hotel. In the afternoon, we'll have a class about how to integrate history into your storytelling. So when you write about place, there often is a need to tell about the history of that place. Well, how do you do that so that it doesn't sound scripted or stilted? So we'll talk about that, and then there'll be some writing time, and we'll go visit the Virgin, which is kind of like the center of the city, this giant statue of the Virgin, which is a pilgrimage that Chileans come to, and there's a funicular that goes up to the top, and so we'll take a trip up there.
Isn't there a gondola also?
It's a oh, you're right. Wait a sec, is it a gondola or is it a funicular?
I don't know. I thought I saw a gondola in my research, but I wasn't sure.
I feel like it's a funicular, but I'm having a gondola memory, so I'm not.
I kind of remember a video of you on a gondola also, but I'm not
sure. That's so true. I wonder if it's both. I wonder if it's half and half.
It might be both. It might be a gondola to the park or a funicular up the hill.
Yeah, it's slipping my mind now. But we'll either gondola or funiculate up to the top. I'm not sure which. And then we'll have a night on the town, because, you know, there's a nice nightlife there. Most of us are probably not of the age where we want to go do techno dancing that starts at midnight. So we'll have an age-appropriate night on the town that gets us home at a decent hour. And then day 9, we're going to take a proper tour of Santiago, a walking tour of Santiago, have dinner together, and then bring things to a close with some reading, open mic, sharing, that kind of thing. And then day 10, travel home. So that's kind of the basic itinerary. Anybody have questions about that so far? See if anybody else jumped on. Okay. Okay. So what's the cost, and what does it cover, and what doesn't it cover? So the cost of the trip covers the books. We'll send the books out to people in preparation for the trip. And most likely we'll even have a couple of book clubs on video, on Zoom before we go, so that we can, we can all sort of feel like we've talked together about this place that we're going. But, I don't want you just all reading Wikipedia. So the cost will cover all the tours, the entrance fees to everything that we do, the breakfasts and lunches. And I say most days because there's one day that's just a free day for people to wander around town. So we're not going to have the venue do lunch for us that day. It's going to cover the blogging coaching with Lisa, and or website coaching, whatever you want to use that hour for, and the writing coaching and classes, and the lodging, and the wine tasting. What it won't cover is your airfare. Dinners will be on your own most nights. Again, there may be a night or two when we're all together. And any personal shopping spree that you go on. So if you bring art home, that's on you. And it also wouldn't cover, there's in every one of these rooms, they have tempted you with like 5 bottles of amazing Chilean wine. If you crack those puppies open and drink them, that's on you. But they're not that expensive. They really do run from about $4 American to probably maximum $20 American. The wine in Chile is amazing and really reasonable. And they will leave several bottles in your room, and no judgment if they're all gone. I'm just saying. So the cost of the trip, if those who know for sure that they want to jump in, we're going to ask that before December 31st that they put a $250 deposit down to hold the spot, and non-refundable because we've reserved the rooms. And so we're going to lose a little money. We won't lose all the nights, but we'll lose the first couple of nights. And so we need that deposit to be non-refundable. So just make sure that if you decide you want to jump in, that you do decide that you want to jump in. So then the cost for participants who register and pay by the 31st of December is $2,997. So essentially $3,000 for the whole trip. And then if you pay after that, it goes up a little bit, and we may fill up. So if we'll keep everybody posted. So if you're taking a little longer to decide, and that, by the way, that $250 non-refundable deposit goes toward so it's not $2,997 plus $250. It goes toward it's just a placeholder. So we're going to have to close it up in March, because we're going to need to solidify our plans with Grant and the wine box.
And the buses.
Yeah, probably more like the 15th of March, actually, Lisa. But yeah. And then if a couple of people have asked, what if my spouse or, partner wants to come along, but they're not going to participate in the classes, obviously. And they'll be staying with me. So we have an additional lower cost for your tag along if you have a tag along person. And I will tell you that the beds in the rooms are double beds. They're kind of like slightly bigger than double beds. But if you don't mind being cozy, and that cost for the spouse would cover all of the tours and everything. So it would cover the meals and the tours just like it would for you.
Just not the classes.
Yeah, just not the classes, right?
Yeah.
So if you think this is something that you want to do, and Lisa and I are super fun. So if you're having FOMO right now, because you're thinking I can't do it, like there's time for car washes or cookie sales. So you can go to thenarrativeproject.net/travel. This is not a page that is up on the website generally, so you have to know this page. So it's thenarrativeproject.net/travel, and everything that we just went through is up there. We're going to ask people who want to go to fill out an application, and the reason is that there's a certain amount of walking and we don't want anyone to come on the trip without fully understanding that there'll be walking. And I'm also not 100% sure that we will be able to accommodate gluten-free. So I've got to talk to Grant about that. So I just want to make sure that we're talking to each person who wants to go. And once you get the thumbs up from us, then we'll send you a link for the deposit. And essentially that's it. It's a very brief form that Lisa created on the website to fill out, like 4 questions. Um, so, who's excited?
Me.
Yeah, sounds great.
I am. That sounds sweet. Okay, so
Questions?
the rooms are, we get our own room.
You get your own room, and let me actually.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me see if I while you're talking. Let me see if I can pull up some of the pictures of the rooms.
Well, I could look it up too.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure they're online, right?
they're online for sure.
Yeah.
Tammy, you go ahead and talk, and I'll pull up the
Okay,
thing.
you
Pull
pull
up
up
the
the
website.
question. Okay, good. Yeah. So yep, everybody gets their own room, and so each room has a bathroom, a kitchenette,
Okay.
a
That's
bed.
why you were saying cooking. Okay.
Yep, a desk. So it has a desk for writing, and then it has a little sofa that looks out at the water.
Okay.
So each and every room is different. Yeah, here's a good
So here's some
example.
pictures of the rooms.
Yeah.
So this is the there you go.
Yeah.
And then they look out.
Yeah. Yeah. They're long and narrow like a container.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Containers are 8 by 8
Yeah.
and some length, either 10 or 20. So that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, I think there are probably 8. That sounds right. That feels right. And then, but I think there are probably 20. They're at least double what they are wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a funicular train
That's one of the
track.
funiculars.
Yeah.
Just some street art.
Yep. Other questions?
I've been walking the stairs at Richmond Beach. Does that count? This gives me a reason to keep going. I'm up to
It totally counts.
down.
Totally does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, Tori, I thought the same thing because I just came home from San Francisco and my husband and I were staying down at the bottom of the hill
I'm walking
to
up.
the top of the mark. And then
Yeah.
on the cab, he's like, no, let's walk. And I'm like, okay, let's
Yeah.
go.
Well, and
All the way up.
I started in August, and I thought I need to have something I'm working for, towards. And
Yeah.
I reached 10 times. I do 10 laps now, up and down 188 stairs. So
That's so good.
I think I could do this.
You could do it. I
My
think.
age won't slow you down.
Nope. I think you could do it. I think one thing to know about Valparaiso is that the stairways are, there's like a stairway, and then there is that leads you to a street, and then you're on a street for a while, and then another stairway, and everybody has to stop occasionally and rest because it's a city on a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not in the mountains, so
It's
we don't
not
have
in the
to
mountains.
deal with
It's at
all
sea
the-
level.
Yeah.
It's at
Of
sea
course, 'cause
level.
the water's out there. Yeah. So because
Yep.
that was my problem in Peru. I actually altitude sickness. So.
I've had that too. I had that in Bolivia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other questions? Yeah, Dana?
Do you know how many people you're envisioning going on the trip?
We have 10 spots. That's a good question. We have 10 spots.
Okay.
We have 10 rooms reserved. I snapped up most of his rooms for that period in May. Yeah, here's Valparaiso.
Valparaiso's on the coast right here.
I didn't mention that we're actually going to take an afternoon trip to Viña del Mar, which is, it was just on there, right? It's right up there. That's where I ran there it is, my most recent marathon in Viña del Mar. And there's beautiful coastline there. So we'll take a bus there because it's a fun experience to take a bus. It's a 15-minute ride. And then we'll saunter on that coastline and have dinner somewhere that night. There's going to be plenty of things to write about, and we'll have prompts, plenty of prompts to get people started.
Wow.
So yeah, 10, Dana.
Do you know what the weather's like that time of year?
Good question. The weather that time of year is very much like September is in the Northwest because they're below the equator. And so I would expect it to be between about, 55 and 65. And we may have some really beautiful clear days, and we may have some rain. It'll be very much like Seattle Northwest weather is Vancouver. Yeah.
Do you know on that for that first day when you would aim to fly out?
Lisa and I have been looking at the at airlines, and I don't know that we've figured out our flights yet. Have we, Lisa?
I don't think we've totally confirmed them because we were still back and forth on dates.
Yeah.
But I believe there was an early morning one out of Vancouver, British Columbia, that got in at a reasonable time. There's also one that leaves late night, like on the day before, so it's a red eye.
Yeah.
An early morning with a layover.
I know. We were trying to find. So you have a price range in your mind, right? Like, okay, what's reasonable? You should be able to get the round trip ticket for between $700 and $800. And
What,
Like
seven
American
and-
dollars?
huh?
$700 and $800 round trip?
Yeah,
For round trip.
Yeah, we found them, and I mean that's one of the reasons we picked that time of year too.
Yeah.
That's a bargain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the tricks is to look at both Seattle and Vancouver. And so Vancouver is sometimes cheaper and sometimes not, but it's well worth the extra driving time because it can sometimes be. I have bought tickets out of Vancouver that are $400 cheaper, going to Europe and going to South America.
So is it a direct flight?
It's not a direct flight.
I didn't think so.
I haven't been able to find a direct flight
Right,
from Seattle or Vancouver. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, but it would be the same airlines, or do you have to change airlines?
No, you can. I found it like through Delta, but it might be operated by Air Canada, sort of thing.
Okay.
But in other words, you could get your frequent flyer miles.
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah. Okay. I don't like Delta. I don't fly Delta, but I would if I
Yeah.
had to. Yeah.
Well, you can also fly on. I think Copa Airlines goes there, and there's a handful of air. We can as we get people saying yes, I want to do that. We'll start to get our information out about options.
Right. Right. And are you going early? You and Lisa?
We
going
have not talked about going early. We certainly could go early, and maybe should go early. But
We might need to.
yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably not a bad idea.
Okay. Delta Air Canada. That's a start.
Yeah. Yeah, and LAN Airlines, is that the other one that flies out of Vancouver? There's a couple of them that fly out of Vancouver that are operated
Yeah.
by Air Canada.
So Tori, right now, I mean, I just did a quick search on this thing. I'm finding 832.
Yeah. But under $1,000 is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's out of Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'm glad you're making this call now because I'm taking one of my grandsons to South Africa and we were going to go right about then.
Oh.
But I haven't booked it. So, I mean, I have to go before September and he comes from Alaska, is out of school. But it'll be winter all summer, so it really doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we could go in July, come home and have a little recovery time and then go in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to Taiwan in March, so that works.
Good.
Yeah. When
That's
you
so
said May, it was like because I was afraid you were going to say March.
No.
I was hoping for March, but, but that's okay. Yeah.
I think that March, let's see, it would be is the beginning of our spring, so it's the beginning
it's
of their
the middle of their
fall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
their fault. Yeah.
Yeah. So May is closer to our summer, and but there's still the shoulder season there, like.
Yeah.
And actually, the temperature in Valparaiso is very much like the Northwest. It's not ever super duper cold
Mm.
or blistering hot. Yeah. Good.
Wow.
Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
I love the idea of the private room.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain age, I always pay the upcharge. It's like, yeah, no,
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about this trip is that we can do this trip for the cost because Chile is not Paris, you
Right.
know? I mean, when we do our Paris trip and we follow in Hemingway's steps, it may be a little more. But for this first trip, we really felt like we want to go to a literary city where there's never a moment when you're not seeing something interesting, but where everyone can afford to be in their own space. Because if you're going to use some of that time for writing, you need to not negotiate that with other people if possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, as you all have additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. If you don't have my email address, it's just Cami@thenarrativeproject.net. Lisa's is Lisa D.
The easiest one is probably Lisa@silentsidekick.com.
Lisa@silentsidekick.com. And either one of us can answer questions for you. And I know there are other people who signed up for this info session but didn't jump on. So we'll keep you guys posted. I mean, it's first come, first serve in terms of making sure we want to make sure that everybody can do the trip. So I don't have any worries about you, Tori.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't have any worries about you. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, you know, if you were really super wiped out, you could order an Uber, but we were sort of trying to avoid everybody Ubering everywhere because that kind of takes away from the experience of the city, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't wipe out very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's true. So.
But we'll see. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anybody has any other questions, as I said, just reach out to us, and we're excited. So we'll keep you posted as numbers come together and all that. And you'll get this video in your email as well.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. Lots of love, everybody. Have a good night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Night.